Hello, hello.
Hi, good Sunday afternoon, everybody. Welcome to a Democrat and a Republican
Walk into a bar.
walk into a bar here at Ollie's Records and Beer in Cape Coral. Thanks to Ollie's for hosting us.
Thank you again, Ollie's.
A couple folks coming in, checking out records. I have Dead Parrot Ales, kind of a
And
fun.
I've been
Pepper?
into Dr. Peppers recently for some reason. I don't know why.
My youngest daughter's here getting her
s'more sandwich.
Sprite, yes, and
Yes.
s'more sandwich, which is the sandwich for her. They just opened up their sandwich spot here, so it's
a very sweet sandwich, very sticky. They can't even cut it in half because I finally had one the last time I was here, and it's messy. It's a bit messy.
Yes, but it's very good. They have other sandwiches, so if you do want to come for a Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon, grab a bite. There's the taco place next door, but beers and drinks here.
Yep.
Pinball, records, such a good time. And let's just go out the gates with what we were just talking about. We have some really cool ideas for events coming up here.
Yeah, so we've been in talks with another Democrat and another Republican who've been wanting to get involved in the conversation. So we're probably going to have them later on, sometime at a later show. Two good one who of course is also already has a podcast with us over here at
Big Mouth Media,
Chris Proya.
Yep.
And then a good friend of mine, Sheena Reagan, on the Republican side, who's a wonderful comedian, a conservative comedian. And then they want to come on the show, and we're going to invite them on and have a much bigger conversation, which I'm excited for. We have a lot of plans, a lot of ideas of where that can go as well.
Yes. So what we're hoping, we'll have them come on and we'll have some conversation. And we're in the works to have an event, basically like a comedy debate.
Yes.
Republican versus Democrat. We're hoping to host it here at Ollie's. We got to get the details in order, but that is coming up for this summer. And that's actually going to be our first Big Mouth Media official event.
That would be really exciting. I think we should do a bunch of crossovers, get everyone involved somehow.
Yes. So it'll
be
Chantal
and all of them.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. I'm sure we'll have all the hosts here, but something that will be special for our subscribers, right? This will be a special event for the subscribers, and then we'll have some general admission tickets as well. So keep tuning in to Big Mouth Media for details on that, and look forward for more coming from.
I am really excited for this. It looks like it's going to be very fun. Very happy to co-host and co-moderate as well. I don't know how we're exactly going to do it, but of course, once we work out the details, it's going to be definitely a fun night.
Yes, for sure. And this is also our first week heading into the weekly now Democrat versus Republican podcast.
Super excited.
Which, by the way, and I don't know if I've told you, but this is one of our most popular shows at Big Mouth Media.
Oh, good. I'm so happy that you guys like me.
Yes. This is a great concept. Lots of folks are excited for this conversation.
Well, I'm glad because that's what we really want the show to be about, and we have some issues that we agree with and disagree with, and the fact is that we can both be very principled on our positions and have these respectful conversations, sometimes heated, of course. I know we're going to be talking about abortion, which we both have very different views on. But again, I'm very happy that we're doing this. I'm very happy that this is one of the shows that's getting a lot of traction, and I'm glad you guys are watching it. And I hope we show an example of how politics should be as opposed to how it is right now.
Yeah, and it's really we're getting a lot of great hits. So make sure that you're listening to Big Mouth Media. You can hear the edited podcast will come out on every Wednesday moving forward now. So you'll find that wherever you listen to podcasts, you can get it at the Big Mouth Media website, bigmouthmediafl.com, and actually YouTube, where we're live right now, is one of our biggest platforms for this podcast.
I need to share this.
He's going to share it too.
I share it on my own personal Facebook. I haven't been doing that because
make sure you get that done. Volume down, otherwise we're going to get some weird feedback.
That is true. Hang on.
But check it out. We have our conversation here. We're watching. So shout out to the folks that are watching now. If you have anything to add in, any topics you want us to cover today, we have a few in mind. Some things that are happening here in Southwest Florida. But really,
myself.
really doing
Posting
good
every-
on YouTube. So this is become a really popular show, and definitely something that I think that people want to see more of. How can we discuss issues? We're still sitting here having a drink. We're still friendly with one another. We don't have to disagree. We don't have to agree on everything to still have conversation.
Yeah, which is what we need to at least start at, and start at a position where we're not like calling each other, oh, socialist, fascist, this and that, transphobe, bigot, all the things
Exactly.
that we're always yelling at each other on. That can be left up to the cable news. They can
Right.
they could do that there.
Right, good. So there are a few things happening locally
Yes.
that I know that you wanted to dive
I
into.
wanted to.
So.
I thought it was. I saw it on your page. Actually, I thought it was embarrassing, but hilarious at the same time. I think that you should explain it because you
Okay.
are very good at. You're very professorial, so you can at least explain what happened there. But I really want to talk about this.
All right. So this was in Collier County Schools, right? So Collier County Schools at Manatee Middle School. There was a video that was shared that I guess is part of like their daily news program that goes out to the students and then parents and everybody got to see
the morning announcements type of stuff.
Yeah, kind of. But so what it was a video presentation from I believe it was one of the social studies teachers. I think that he's also maybe part-time faculty at Florida Gulf Coast University. I'm not entirely sure, but anyway, one of the teachers shared basically a voiceover on a PowerPoint presentation about Confederate History Month, saying April's Confederate History Month, and laid out this kind of description and timeline of Florida in the Confederate history. It was very
cringe.
It was cringe. It was very cringe. But it was also like extremely pro-Confederacy. It used a lot of...
Felt very lost cause-y.
Yeah, a lot of language that I think, and I know because I actually, before I saw that video, I was getting text messages from moms who had kids at that school saying, have you seen this? And children are upset and they're, because on top of everything, that school is 97.3% or 93.7% minority. So it's
which is
largely
even worse.
Black and Hispanic students.
So first off, so since April is Confederate History Month, I guess I didn't even realize they had a history month. Let's be clear about the history, and that is the fact that they were traitors. And for me, we've talked about how before we're both patriotic Americans. Of course, being a Republican, America is such a massive part of our identity. Yeah. The fact of the matter is we became a country because of the Civil War. And it was because of that we became a United States. Before we weren't. We were more like a European Union. We were seen as these United States of America. So the fact of the matter is the Confederate history is not one of that should be looked at positively. And the other thing in particular with what he said, he used very specific words that I thought were hilariously horrible, if that makes any sense, where it was comical on how stupid it was, where he uses he used a term. What did he say? He said, the Civil War was caused for a variety of reasons, which is what a lot of, pro-Confederate lost causers like to say. I guess it is technically true that there were a bunch of reasons, but the main reason was slavery. And I think we all know that. And even people who try to deny it know that. But it's like saying that the main reason for the American Revolution is because colonists wanted to move westward. It may be one of the minor reasons, but it wasn't the inciting incident. So
it's because they wanted cheaper tea or something.
Or it was no taxation without representation.
Right, which was like
that
part
was
of the deal.
Yeah,
but
the point being is that it's definitely embarrassing. I cringed. Because it's when you are a patriotic American, when you talk about how wonderful this country is, you have to understand that the Confederate States were not a part of that. And the only good thing that came of it is because of their stupidity of seceding. Had they not seceded, we would not have ended slavery when we did. It probably would have lasted a lot longer because it was such a powerful and common institution. It was because of their secession that justified that ending of slavery and that definition of us as a country that defends liberty and freedom.
Mhm.
And so I've never, it always boggled my mind, even as someone as a history nerd who had fascinations with the Confederate States. Like, there's some very interesting stuff in the Confederate States Constitution if you strip out the slavery stuff,
Mhm.
right? But that doesn't change the fact that the reason they seceded, many of the states cited slavery for their secession.
Right.
Alexander Stephens' famous Cornerstone speech laid it down as a major reason for secession. It is how they felt. So to deny that is to deny facts and to deny the truth. So, but
Yeah.
I think it was embarrassing. And I think about, those woke laws that we passed, where I'm pretty sure we're not supposed to make someone feel bad based on their demographic or how they are. I don't remember exactly the wording, but I would imagine, like you said,
That
97%
made a lot of kids
minorities.
feel uncomfortable.
It made a lot of
Yeah.
kids feel uncomfortable. I would assume it's the same thing that if you taught white people critical race theory, it would have been a very similar emotional, response. So I
Yeah.
say this individual has justification for termination. I would say.
I believe that that teacher has been suspended for now. I'm not on the ins and outs of what happened there, but what I can definitely say, what struck me when I watched the video was kind of this along the same lines as you, is that I'm struck at the normalization of secession. That's what really got me. I'm like, wait a second, like, oh, we had two United States, and I'm like, no, like, we didn't. Then we had two Americas. Everything is hunky dory, and I'm like, no, like,
No.
this is not how that works. Like, you don't get to just be like, hey, we're going to be Americans over here.
Yeah.
Like, that part of it, the way that the language was used really bothered me.
Yeah, that was another part of it too, where it gave a very positive outlook of secession.
Right.
And look, from a Republican perspective, a lot of the reason why there's a minority of us who are so supportive of secession is more along the lines of the over encroachment of the federal government. And that's where that concern comes in. And I feel like that's an issue that, of course, we should discuss and make sure that we don't have a federal government that encroaches on the rights of both states and individuals. But that's an entirely different discussion. And the solution is not, let's get out of here. And
yeah, but let's be clear. If you are talking about war, secession, and leaving the country, you're a fucking traitor.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you're a traitor.
Full stop.
Like, you're not a patriot. You're not a supporter of the Constitution, because these are not things that are part of that. So you can't have it both ways. And I think that's like I said, was a worrying thing for me. And then, of course, this kind of very whitewashing language about, it was like, and slavery kind of thing. And it really struck a nerve with a lot of parents. I at least applaud the administrative response right now. I will say, and this is something like kind of insidey baseball, that I know some parents raised the concern to the school board chair, who I believe now is Kelly Lichter, and she basically laughed it off. So I'm not sure how it's going to go through.
They do have a pretty conservative school board there, so it's unclear as how they would react. But again, as a conservative myself, I don't understand how you can say you're pro-America and pro-Confederacy. The two are contradictory statements. They are polar opposites. It is like saying you are a capitalist and a communist. You cannot be both.
Right.
So.
Yep, I'm with you on that, but it seems as though, and I think that the response that I saw from Chair Lichter was that she said, oh, did you get this information from Jen Mitchell, which is kind of a hearkening back to their school board race and this assertion that this is like a Democratic overcry or whatever. But I thought that was like an inappropriate response to parents, first of all. And
well, definitely, I wouldn't say, and again, as a Republican, I wouldn't say it is. I think that, again, this is an issue of, are you pro-America or not pro-America? That's how this needs to be viewed as. You can't be pro-America and pro-Confederacy. That's it. And so I can understand, Kelly Lichter maybe having this initial reaction because this is unfortunately how politics is, but they do need to look at it from that perspective. Is this a pro-America lesson? And we keep talking about this look at with all these education bills that's coming out. We don't want children to be indoctrinated in a way that makes them anti-American. This is the other end of that coin from the socialism communist side. The flip side of that is pro-Confederacy, fascism, totalitarianism. Right. So we need to make sure that our education isn't teaching either of those, because both of those types of political systems and economic systems and just theories in general are anti-American.
Yep. So we agree on that.
Yeah, we agree on that. That's
probably great. One thing. High five. It happens every now and then. All right.
We find areas of agreement a lot of times more than disagreement. We should probably move on to the one where we're really
going to get at it. Well, so there was that. There was another.
Well, I did want to talk about, because we keep, I'm just shocked at these leaks that have come out.
Oh, the leak.
That I wanted to get some discussion on that because, one, I also want, we're both foreign policy buffs, and so I do want to try to get some international stories every once in a while, since that plays to both of our strengths. I've just been fascinated by how ridiculous the story is. Like, I am expecting like Adam McKay to make a movie out of this in the next few years.
Yeah, it's been very strange. So let me tell you what we do know, right? So there was an arrest of an Air National Guardsman from Massachusetts. Josh Teixeira. Mr. Teixeira, who's a 21-year-old. And it seems as though there were these leaked documents that were photographed and put on Discord servers, what had been private chats around Minecraft.
Yeah.
And
over months, apparently.
Over months. Yes. It's been quite a while that these were out. It seems as though that this the person who put them out there was kind of trying to show some information, impress people.
Was a part of a chat room called Thug Shaker Central, I think, or something like that. It was based off of a meme, and he was like the oldest kid there. It was like mostly teenagers, so it was kind of creepy when you think about it. But he was, I guess, trying to impress these teenagers and showing that he had access to this. And that was one of my biggest questions as to how does not even someone in the United States Armed Forces, but in the state National Guard, how he has access to this. Apparently he was a part of the intelligence, the intelligence division of them. But again, this raises the question that is now being asked and should be asked is, why do all these people have security clearances? How can all these people, like, this is a Gen Z younger than me, like, and I definitely should not have security clearance. So it's, how does someone that young and clearly that stupid have security clearance? It really shines a light in my view on government incompetence. And we really, there's this view that, government can be successful in taking care of us. And really they're just like you and me, and they make a lot of mistakes. It's just that they have a lot more there's a lot worse reactions when they make a mistake. In this case, a lot of information about our allies, a lot of information about the pressure campaign, the fact that we have troops in Ukraine right now, which is concerning, the fact that,
let's talk about that. Hold on. So I want to roll back just a little bit to what you said, because what's interesting to me, and I think that this is less incompetence, I feel like is a bit strong, but because from my understanding is that this person was an IT professional. So they, not necessarily somebody who was in charge of reviewing confidential information and making decisions, but had access to see the information because they were in charge of fixing the systems. So I am almost in the, to the position of where I think that this is more of a case that you have people making decisions about security clearance or types of jobs being done when they don't really fully understand the systems that they're working with. So this is more like a technology issue, because they have to give that person security clearance, and they're supposed to be like, levels of confidence and they
I think that, especially when it comes to any branch, whether federal or state of our military, there be a level
it is
honor
pretty
there.
It's pretty it is rigorous in terms of how they go back. But It's, so this, they had access to things that they necessarily weren't working with, but they
Mhm.
saw because they were building the systems around it. So this is like, can we really have raw laws and policies around technology when the people making the laws and policy don't understand how
That's true
technology
too.
works?
Yeah.
That for me is kind of like what this is
Well,
talking
yeah,
about.
that's
a
yeah,
lot.
because I mean, where I had a bit of a laugh is I'm on a conflict of nations Discord server, which is where I feel that these leaks should have been on, because that is a more appropriate server because it's a military game, but it's on Minecraft. And so I just found even that part absurd. But yeah, you're right. I mean, with these Discord servers and with today's modern technology, my sister's a programmer, and she was telling me about these type of servers that she works with called federated servers, where it basically turns your computer into the server, which makes it much more difficult to track, makes it much more difficult to reach into. And so today's technology, obviously, we don't want government spying on us or anything, but we are getting to a point where it's now almost impossible to do so because of the way some of these
Which
systems
is
are building.
what
But
we learned from another leaker / whistleblower, depending on how the wind is blowing that day and how you're feeling about it. But Edward Snowden.
yep,
Edward Snowden was a similar type of person, only he was a contractor, but he was dealing with the IT.
yeah,
And then he had access to that. And
And he
that's
leaked it.
actually where we learned about the surveillance that was happening through the Patriot Act and the metadata.
yeah. That I think is slightly different because he
Yeah,
didn't
I agree.
reveal it's a difference in what he revealed. Edward Snowden, and I think he was right to do so, revealed that our government was spying on us and
Right.
violating our civil liberties. All the stuff that this individual revealed, threaten, create a situation in Ukraine and create safety issues for that. Possibly reveal scopes and method. Not is it standards? I don't even know what the exact term is.
Standards and procedures.
Definitely upset our allies, definitely, disrupted that as well.
Right.
So-
And I understand that this was actually revealed by the Russian television networks had found it and then apparently changed the data that
Oh my
was on it to make it look more favorable for Russia.
Uh,
And then it was like the U.S. government was like,
Oh, wait,
hey,
now
what
Russia-
is that thing?
how does
And it
Russia
got
have
back
this?
to us. But let's talk about this boots on the ground thing, because this was something that Marjorie Taylor Greene was very outraged about.
Mm.
And again, this is always
And I think it's what special forces or
apparently it
something.
was 12 special forces.
Okay.
So, and listen, let's be clear about what a military operation is versus not. So 12 special forces doing training is not boots on the ground.
Yeah, that's fair.
And she was, kind of going on about, oh, this is war, whatever. Okay. And listen, I will say I'm a constitutionalist. I would love for Congress to have the power of war and for it to be much clearer than it is now. I do not like the breach of power that the president has to kind of send troops all over the place.
With the War Powers Act these days,
Yeah.
it's nearly unlimited, and the president can basically unilaterally
as long as it's funded.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I don't like that. So I'm on board with that.
Another thing we agree on, actually.
Yeah. Well, fundamentally we do, because that's I would like to see that separation of powers, that checks and balance.
Yeah, and it's a constitutional issue. The power of war is explicitly a congressional issue, a legislative branch issue.
Yep.
And more importantly, again, it is an overreach of federal government authority and executive government authority in particular. And we never, our entire country was founded on the idea that centralized governmental power is wrong. And I tend to agree with them. I think they were right on that.
Well, I say that we got the Constitution because the Articles of Confederation didn't work, and that was too decentralized.
Yeah, that is true. So we
had to find a medium.
We had to find the happy medium. But what I mean
separation of powers, state government does.
What I mean is, yes, but that's what I mean. It's
special
still
to that area.
It's still decentralized in a way,
Sure.
but it's what I'm saying. Yes, it did more centralized more because the Articles of Confederation were crap, but it wasn't so centralized that one person or one branch had all the authority.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There was supposed to be the series of checks and balances.
Mm.
So, I mean, I agree with that. However, I don't think that this is really a case of that. I don't think that 12 special forces.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
That's not.
That sounds like
and plus,
something I knew. I feel like we all knew that there was like sub-military
and
personnel
listen,
there
there's
to help
like
train.
there's always CIA and different operatives doing
Mm.
different kinds of things in lots of different cases. So, I think that uproar about that's a little taken. Taken.
No,
too
I
far.
did see one video where it's like we're in World War III, and it's like I don't think it's that far.
Yeah.
But I do know that should we have, we definitely shouldn't have a full military presence there. I think the 12 special forces to assist with training, but again, we also with these leaks learned sort of that Ukraine may not be in as great of a situation as they're promoting on TV. And so that's another thing as well, is how long again, when we talked about this before, how long do we let this war happen before we have to have peace talks and perhaps have some concessions, which is something we don't want to do because it would come off as appeasement. But what's the solution? Where's the exit ramp? Because it doesn't seem like Putin's going to stop, and and I don't think that Zelensky either. I think he's very hard-headed on this as well. And so it's where do we find at the out? And again, I don't know. I really don't know the answer to that.
I mean,
because it's difficult.
Okay, so here's my take on that.
Mm.
And I don't know. I think it's up for debate as to whether or not the situation that those documents reveal a true weakness. I think there were some issues.
From my understanding, it revealed the opinion of people within the DOD or people within the State Department who felt that. But I don't, it's an opinion. So you're right. It may be wrong.
We don't know. But so here's the thing is that,
but
this
then what are
is
they
actually,
basing
by
your
the way, this is
opinions
actually
on?
what I tell my students on
Mhm.
this is like, we don't actually have boots on the ground, and 12 special forces does not count. Okay.
Mm.
We do not have boots on the ground. We do not have NATO engagement. We are selling arms.
Mhm.
We are giving funds. So basically, we are actually supporting, selling, and creating a loop to funnel back into our own economy.
Mm.
By the way,
Well,
so
the military-industrial complex. But
Fine.
yes, yeah.
But- so it's actually a win-win for us. So we can accomplish geopolitical strategic goals
Mm.
while making a profit. Like, I don't know what is more American than that, without getting other Americans killed. So we're actually in the part of geopolitics where is our sweet spot, which is we're the biggest army in the world. We're the biggest arms provider in the world. We're giving those arms to arm an ally to meet our geopolitical needs. It's not a proxy war because we're not engaged in it. Okay. Other than selling arms at this point, we don't even have what do they call the air?
No-fly zones.
No fly zone, which actually would involve our Air Force, but we're not doing that because that is actually like baby war. Okay.
Yeah.
Like we're not there because we're just like, yeah, we'll just give you guys arms. So I don't know what the off ramp is because that's really going to be up to them. But I think what we can do is keep doing our strategic geopolitical weapon sales. We can fortify NATO and see whether or not Putin is going to back down, because that's really what it kind of comes down to. I am not in the Churchill appeasement camp.
No, Churchill wasn't the appeaser. It was Chamberlain who was the appeaser.
Whatever.
You're going to
Right.
compare me.
I went the wrong direction.
Churchill,
I was like
you're
Chamberlain.
being very Churchillian right now. This is the first time I have seen such a strong defense of our military-industrial complex from a Democrat. It's kind of funny.
It's not even a defense. It's just what it is.
No, you're right.
Like,
it is a good.
It's the best.
I mean, war is
scenario.
profitable. War is definitely profitable.
Yeah.
I, however, don't. That my motive, again, I'm very motivated by peace. I would want to see a diplomatic solution there. I absolutely agree that history history has shown us that appeasement is not the solution. So I don't want to appease, but we need to have something on the table. And again, you're right. It has to come from Russia and Ukraine. We'll see what happens. As I have mentioned before, My biggest worry is this goes nuclear. It does look like China, according to the leaks, they say that China is sending the military, but I don't know if that's accurate either. Or
Yeah,
military.
I don't know either.
Yeah,
and they're
but
not that technologically sophisticated. But what they are doing is buying gas and oil.
yeah,
from
buying
them.
basically propping up their economy, so that way
And,
our sanctions mean dilly squat.
by the way, embargoes and sanctions are diplomatic solutions.
Yes, no, I agree.
Just
I agree.
FYI.
I think those were. I think creating those economic sanctions were the right thing to do. I don't think we should lift them, but I think we do have to be honest with the fact with China and Iran and all of the other Eastern states that are still trading with them that the sanctions aren't as effective as we want them to be.
Yeah, they're not as effective if they're skirting around them.
Yeah,
So,
if you can find a loophole. Yeah, exactly.
so that's and like Ukraine's this whole other thing. One thing that was interesting that I read that came out of those leaks was some concern about Taiwan's vulnerability to airstrikes from China.
Yep, that one I'm very concerned about. That's another worry I have is I honestly think it's not a matter of if, but when they invade, and I am at a point where I think they're going to invade before or during the presidential election. I think they're at that point.
I disagree.
You disagree? Why do you disagree from your expertise? Because you know the air.
I live there, and I have a PhD in Asia Pacific
so
Studies.
you are much more intellectually well versed on this. But I want to get your expertise on it.
So this is why I don't think that that's a big risk. First of all, because China they're not going to be the first one. They're not going to be the one that's going to do something.
They're not going to escalate.
They will kind of defend, but in the history of China, they are not the ones that are going out and doing expansionism. Like they run on this totally other system around patronage and things like that.
Do you not think that the way she sort of changes that dynamic?
No, because it's deeper than just one leader. It's kind of a cultural precedent. I actually think that you consider Tsai Ing-wen coming and visiting with Kevin McCarthy in California, having, Nancy Pelosi come to Taiwan, 2 years ago, a year ago. That actually is Taiwan demonstrating its strength and independence. And although it can be seen, and it is seen by China as a provocative act, it's not enough.
It's not provocative enough. Okay.
So it would really have to be something. And here's the thing I can tell you, living in Taiwan, also I lived in Taiwan for 3 years and actually had close relationships with many legislators and people who worked in the cabinet ministries. Actually used to drive by Tsai Ing-wen's house all the time on the way to the school that I worked at. So they are very cognizant of the threat that China has on them. So even though Tsai Ing-wen is with the DPP and they're very quote pro-independence, there's nobody within that camp that's saying yay, we're going to declare total independence
because
tomorrow.
that would be so that would be the inciting incident. So if they declared independence, then they would invade.
So they're not they know they are actually fine with strategic ambiguity. They're totally fine with strategic ambiguity because it affords them the ability to live how they want. So I just don't see, without a major provocative event that's basically unforeseen right now, how any of the actors involved would be brought to the position where they would be forced to, where China would be felt like they were pushed in a corner so much that they would be forced to act.
Okay, so you're thinking from the cultural standpoint, from the political culture of China, that they won't allow Xi to make the first move. Taiwan would have to make the first move by declaring independence or something similar.
Right. And there's, Ma Ying-jeou, who is the previous president, who is part of the Kuomintang, who is actually pro-reunification. But even the pro-reunification people are not hey, we're going to go back to, China tomorrow.
Yeah.
But apparently he's made some trips to the mainland, and it could be also I could actually foresee a false flag kind of thing or some event.
I was even thinking that too, either a false flag would happen or they would do an internal coup where they get whoever they want elected and then move from there.
That could happen. But again, my read right now is that that's not like really imminent. Let's put it
Mm.
that way. I will say though that I agree with the assessment that Taiwan is going to be vulnerable to airstrikes from China if it were to happen,
Mm.
because they're densely populated.
Oh yeah.
Like ridiculously. I think Taiwan is the most densely populated country on earth, and it might be second or close to Bangladesh is the only other country that
That would make sense. Yeah.
per square foot population density, Taiwan and Bangladesh are like right there.
Mm.
And so, you know, it would be hugely catastrophic for their civilians, and they don't have many places to hide their defenses. And you know, even though we've been selling air protection, we have not been selling Taiwan the most up to date technology.
Mm.
So it's also foreseeable that China may have more advanced technology.
That's possible, definitely. I don't know if you even saw what Elon Musk said. And I wanted to bring this up because so many Republicans love him. And I just want to take a shot across the bow and just remind people that he's still very pro-China, because his solution is to do what they have in Hong Kong, which apparently is a good thing what China is doing in Hong Kong.
Like cracking down on
Yeah, I know,
democracy.
right? But
Yeah,
having a
I don't
one state, two system type of government is what his solution
Listen,
is.
oligarchs love dictators
Mhm.
because it's much easier to bribe
Oh yeah.
one person and one party than it is.
Well,
in
it's
a
also they
complex
have like
system.
what 80 to 90% of the lithium he needs for his Tesla model, so he kind of needs to.
Yeah, actually,
kiss
that's
their
the
butt.
whole thing with China. China controls 95% of the rare earth metals
Yeah.
market in total. And what they don't control in their own country, they control in Africa. So,
Mhm.
yeah, that's something that everybody just.
And it's very,
over.
no, Republicans don't. They bring this up quite a bit, and mind you, I am a bit of a green conservative. I do believe we need to, mind you, find more free market solutions than government solutions. But climate change is real, and it's something that we need to address for my generation and future generations. But it's very interesting, and one of the things that Republicans do bring up quite a bit is that the move towards electric vehicles means giving more power to China, because again, 90 to 95% of the batteries that are being made are being produced by China. And so
Yeah, but
it's the trade-off.
it's the trade-off
Mm.
because you can get a lot of these metals
Mm.
from anywhere. Actually, they're the most ubiquitous metals on earth. It's
Mm.
just extracting them is extremely dangerous and detrimental to the environment. So you're talking like strip mines that are just absolutely
Yeah.
nasty.
I've seen some pretty disgusting pictures. So,
Yeah. So it's like we just choose to not do that in the United States, but we really need them. So
Mm.
yeah, I mean there's a lot of risk involved in that. Yeah, with the battery technology as
Yeah.
well. So
So the solution
the
again is more
complexity
oil.
is- yeah.
Joking.
well, there's complexity in it.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
is.
that's the truth. Is
And
it's what are you willing to give up? Now, one of the things with electric vehicles, aside from the geopolitical and trade issues with China,
Mm.
the advantage too. Then people also say, "Oh, look, you're plugging in, so you're still using coal powered or whatever."
all of that out.
Hey, speaking of batteries, my daughter came over and like the plug came out, so the battery doesn't work. So we're definitely reliant on batteries. So hello, everybody. Maybe a more grown-up hairstyle. Oh, come on. That's not necessary.
I
Okay.
like my hair.
We
And
don't
you
need
know
to
No,
focus
it's-
on that. So
What's an adult hairstyle?
I don't know what adults do. So okay, so let's move on to
Sorry. We had a bit of a technical
We're back, though.
issue on the live stream, but we're back now. We were just finishing.
We were just
up on,
talking about Taiwan and stuff, but let's move into the big issue, the flashpoint of the week.
Yes. So Governor DeSantis has signed the 6-week abortion ban. From my understanding, that's still on hold until the state Supreme Court rules on the 15-week abortion ban. But
so so this is what I understand. So the House, the Senate passed it the week before. The House passed the bill this week, and then Ron DeSantis signed it at 11 p.m. that evening that it was passed by the Senate, and it will go into law like all of the other laws on July 1st. However, there is still the challenge to the 15-week abortion ban. So how it affects people and providers in the state of Florida is currently on pause.
Yeah.
Because I believe that there's still a stay in order with the 15-week abortion ban.
Yeah. So I think that's where that applies. But again, this is
what activists like to say is that there is still availability of abortion care in Florida until further notice, until the laws come into effect on July 1st.
Yes. So abort your babies now. Buy abort one, get one free. I'm just
Oh my God. No, but if somebody is in a situation where they have an ectopic pregnancy or there was some kind of other miscarriage, they can get the health care that they need so they don't go sepsis, or that they do not have to worry about leaving the state as long as you are ahead of the 24 weeks, which had been the nationwide consensus.
Now, from my understanding, both the 15-week and the 6-week do have provisions for when the mother's life is in jeopardy, which in those cases are where I would see like the cases you mentioned, because obviously there are times where, unfortunately, abortion does have to be used to save a mother's life for a number of medical reasons, and those shouldn't be prohibited.
So I'm not sure if the 6-week abortion ban has those provisions.
No, I'm pretty sure they do. I think it would be. We could check again and
let's
circle
double
back.
check.
Circle back next week, as Jen Psaki would say.
I would say I do know that, for instance, the rape and incest ones, you have to have 2 different verifications.
Yeah, so that one.
Well, you have to have verification. I think it's the healthcare provider. You have to have 2 different ones.
Yeah, that one
but
is.
But the problem with all of that, of course, comes into timing. Right? So you cannot, it takes on average 21 days to get an appointment for any kind of prenatal care. So you're already out of the range of an abortion at that point in time, because the 6-week abortion ban is actually 2 weeks past a missed period. Yeah. So
most people don't know by then.
Most people don't even know. And if they have some, they happen to know because they know the exact day that their period is supposed to come, they are not even necessarily going to be able to get any care or checks that they may need. Yeah.
So I am, of course, pro-life. And this has always been, I've honestly never really liked the abortion issue because I felt it was always a wedge issue. And I feel like neither side recognizes the legitimate concerns that the other side had. And you brought up something the last time we were on, and it's been something that I've thought about too. Whereas when we talk about the precedent that we set, we are saying that you can control someone's body to protect someone's life. So this creates a situation where anything from forced vaccinations to, in theory, forced kidney transplants.
Sure.
So
body autonomy.
Now, mind you, the counter argument to that may also be that the fetus itself is a separate individual. And that's where I think there is a reasonable discussion to have, where it's like, okay, yeah, it is your body, your choice, but then there's that body inside your body. And then that, but again,
But then we have to confer legal rights on
Yeah.
that. And then we get into a whole other issue,
yes,
right?
which I do think we need to actually confer legal rights, but that is an entirely separate discussion. You're right.
Because the logistics around that then are tracking periods.
Yes, okay. That and I will say
And,
that type
yeah.
of stuff when I see or hear that type of stories about tracking periods or different apps giving that to the government, I do have a problem with that. That is a privacy issue,
Mhm.
and that is just really weird and disgusting.
I mean, that's essentially how you would be able to confer legal rights on an entity that lives within another entity.
well,
Right? You would have to track how
well,
it is.
I don't think
that works.
I actually disagree. I don't see how that would be how you would
Well, how are
ident-
you going to confer
wi-
rights to something you don't know exists?
well, if they test and they find out that it exists, then
Okay.
then once they have that,
But what if you're just off the? What if you're just pregnant and you never go?
well, if you're yeah, that
Then what happens? Then we start arresting
no,
pregnant people.
I would not
not
be I would
registering?
not be supportive
This is
of
this
that.
is the problem that
Mm.
really this is why
Yeah.
it's like you either grant body autonomy to women
Mm.
or nothing, because everything else is an invasion of your medical privacy, your decision making capacity, and yeah, the logistical way that you would have to track whether or not another life is being created would be track the people who make life.
Yeah, which and again, I will say, I will not. I'm not supportive of that. Those steps.
He's like,
You mean an
Cindy's saying the
individual,
same
you're-
thing too, right?
You could be
She-
an individual if you're dependent of another person's body.
Right. So how do we do that?
That is a
Exactly
good,
right.
and it's a very fair question, and it's a very fair question.
And
but
this is
again-
what we were talking about before, that yeah, setting the precedent around medical freedom and privacy, right? That it does go back to the attacks on Obamacare from the Republicans, and actually, we can throw in the folks who are anti-COVID vaccines too. It's the same
Oh yeah,
argument.
no,
Actually.
it is very much the same argument. I did find it a little hypocritical that we were all my body, my choice when it came to the vaccines. I 100% agree. Again, for me, this issue again really comes around what the value of life. And quite frankly, I did used to be pro-choice, and what really turned me away from that was when it stopped being about safe, legal, and rare. So to me, abortion, you keep calling abortion healthcare. To me, abortion is a moral wrong. I can accept the choice being there if there was a general understanding of that being a moral wrong, but it doesn't seem like
Yeah,
it's
but that's
that.
a moral wrong for you.
Yeah, again, but there was a time.
And you don't have to have one.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
But
That's your
But when
morality.
I've always disliked that argument because there are plenty of pro-life women out there. So yes, I'm a
Sure.
man who's pro-life, but it's not like because I'm a pro-life man.
Right, and those pro-life women don't have to have one either.
Yeah.
But even I will say, I know many pro-life women who have had one, and it's because they don't understand that having a DNC is the same thing as an abortion.
Yes, I think we've talked about that before.
And so you're risking that healthcare as well. But I lived in Japan, where frankly abortions are birth control.
Yeah, and that's
how they live.
And that's not how I think abortions should be.
And that's okay, but
I
you're
would have been
not
supportive
Japanese.
But
I
again,
mean,
so for me again,
But if a
it's just-
Japanese woman came here and she's like, I want to have an abortion, like why
no, I just don't.
is that a problem?
It's a problem again because it is life, and and I see someone the
But
baby
it
isn't
can't.
a baby
It's
isn't.
not, it's
It
not
is.
its own entity yet.
It's not. It's not an independent. Yeah, I guess it's not an independent entity. But that's like saying, oh, if a child's still living with their parents, does that mean that they're not life? It's
but they've already been born. They are life. They have a social
It
security
is.
number.
But a fetus is a life. It is scientifically a stage of human development.
Sure,
it is a part
but
of
it's
a human life.
It's not separate, and that's why the 1994 Supreme Court ruling that said up to viability, when that life can sustain itself on its own,
Yeah.
right?
In that same ruling, though, they did say that states can determine that earlier. But to me, I'm going to keep saying it over. I'm going to be like a broken record. To me, it is about life. I do want to say this, though, and I think that this is something that we can agree on when it comes to this issue. where I have been angry with my side is that, and something that your side has criticized us fairly on, is that we're not pro-life, we're pro-birth, where
Right.
we don't know, we want these women to have children. And I actually want to even go a little bit, take a step back here. I would much rather not have, we use the stick too much when it comes to this issue when we should be using the carrot. We need to really address, why do women make these decisions? What are the socioeconomic causes of these?
Sure.
What are the family issues?
Right.
I do think that government policy should be that there should be no abortions, but I would rather do it with the carrot than with the stick. Now we're already using the stick. We've already passed the 6-week abortion ban, and that's whether or not that's going to be law is going to depending on our Supreme Court. But now we actually have to talk about, as Republicans, these are now women who are going to have these children, who are, as you would say, forced to have these children, which actually is fair. They are being forced. So we are going to need to, quite frankly, provide for them. That will require more funding for social services.
Right.
That may require more taxes.
Right.
And I, for one, as a Republican, would support that, because we need to pivot not just from pro-life, but to pro-family. That, yes, when
That's
this
fine with
child
me.
comes in, we have to provide for them, especially that this is a government mandate. And I have a general belief that if the government's going to mandate something, then they need to be the financiers and the providers of it. But
It's fine with me.
I think that, and I will say, I have a very much an understanding of why your side is so passionate about this. And I respect you for that passion. I disagree with you again, because, and again, it comes to me about the value of life. And that's why I feel so passionately
But
about
you
this.
can feel valuable. You can feel that that's a value for life. But we have the separation of church and state.
Yes, but it's not
And,
my.
and let's be clear
Mm.
that this is actually a Christian version of when life begins, because actually the 15-week abortion ban is being challenged by Jewish leaders in the state of Florida because they believe life begins at birth. Okay,
Mm.
so this affects their religious
So-
freedom. Japanese people who do not have either a Christian or Judeo fundamental in their value set
Mm.
do not have any moral qualms about this whatsoever. So you're talking about a whole nother group of folks who fall into that other dogma category that the government is now making decisions for. On top of that, yes, I agree. We do not take care of folks. And we also have single mothers as the highest rate of poverty in this country.
Which is why,
And
again,
people blame them. That's the thing. There's a social stigma
Mhm.
against it. So now you're forcing women to in this situation. And the thing is when it comes down to it, the number of people who are walking in to any place to receive abortion care, the vast majority of them are not doing it because fuck it.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
that's not the
I
situation.
100% agree with
Like,
you. And this is,
it's a situation. There are things going on. I know 2 women in their 70s who had it because they were in domestic violence situations. They had other children to take care of. Actually, the majority of women who have abortions have other children.
Yeah.
So a lot of it is also about making a rational decision to take care of the children that you have,
Yes.
and not being empowered to control your own sexuality because of men, right? And so there's a lot of complexity to it, and the truth is it's better when women and their healthcare providers can make that decision, because the way that it's happening is not happening in a way that it's just flip. It's not flip. It already can't be in the state of Florida. We already have some of the highest restrictions in the country when it comes to forcing women to have an ultrasound, making women wait for 24 hours. That's why the 6-week abortion ban is actually a virtual total abortion ban, because you're not going to be able to make the appointments already required by law in the state of Florida to successfully have an abortion within that 6-week time frame.
So I do disagree with you on the fact that this is only a Christian issue. Obviously, Christians are the biggest pushers of this, but I
This has
think
been an evangelical
it has
since the 80s.
it has been an evangelical
And
issue,
by the
but I
way,
don't think it is just an
Roe v.
evangelical
Wade, when it
issue.
happened, was supported bipartisanly. Actually, Republicans,
Oh, yeah.
including Nixon, thought it was a great idea because of its links to poverty.
Again, so
It only became an issue because of evangelical money in Republican politics.
you're absolutely right there. It definitely was the moral majority in the 80s that turned it into into the wedge issue it is
And then,
today.
then the funding through the Federalist Society all the way up
Mm.
to overturn Roe v. Wade. This has been the whole plan. But it also comes on the back of not only overturning the judiciary and making Roe v. Wade roll back the rights. It's complicated by
Mm.
abstinence education and rollback on contraception. In fact, the opinion that Clarence Thomas wrote, the supplemental opinion on the Dobbs case, actually laid the groundwork for the delegitimization of contraception. So if you can't have contraception and you can't have abortion,
Mm.
you're talking about a whole lot of children being born that are into situations that are extremely dangerous,
Mm.
full of trauma, and a next generation of people who are going to be impoverished and committing crimes. And there's statistical evidence to prove that.
No, and I agree with that statistical evidence, which is why, again, I said that we as Republicans need to start shifting our attention to addressing those issues that are caused by this. And that does mean providing more funding to these social programs, possibly even higher taxes, which, again, as a Republican, I would support because this is about the value of
So
life.
you
and
would support higher taxes for life?
Yes, absolutely. 100%. And I
That's
don't understand how
fascinating.
any pro-life Republican would say otherwise. But I think many of them would because they don't realize
conflict.
because they don't realize it. Yes, it does conflict. And that's why they, like you said, demonize these women. And I don't think we should demonize these women. I think a lot of these women, and I've met women who've had abortions, they make a decision for a variety of reasons. And it is not always, oh, I just don't want to have a kid. Let's just get rid of it because it's
Right.
great. I'm sure there are some that do that too. And I personally am not supportive of those type of individuals who do that. I'm sure you would be supportive of them having that choice. But that's the point I'm trying to make though is we shouldn't be demonizing those women who do decide to make that choice. What we need to do is address why they're making that choice and try to solve it from that way. And I would much have rather
I'm in.
us resolved it that way
I'm in.
than by using government. Thank you for
I'm
being
in.
in on that. And I will say this. Because again, I am a more libertarian guy, and I do get hesitant when government encroaches in our lives. And so, even though I am pro-life because of the value of life, I kept repeating it. I don't want to, beat a dead horse on that. That's why I support this position, but I am mindful of what it means. So, I would have much rather have been addressing these issues from a social services standpoint, from a family planning standpoint. And if we were back to safe, legal, and rare, I probably would support that. But again, it feels like there is a much more moral support. And mind you, a lot of the reason that there is this support for abortions is because our side has stigmatized it, which I believe we should have. But again, our side has stigmatized it and have put it in the shadow. So by
it's
you
so
guys,
weird that you're talking about like the safe, legal, and rare component when actually there's a lower amount of abortions that have happened over the last 10 years.
yes.
And you know what it's from? Contraception
Yes.
availability.
And
So
again,
when you have contraception,
Yeah.
you have less abortion.
And
So
I am
actually-
100% supportive, and I will say this, I am 100% supportive of contraceptions. I think that's a great way to prevent pregnancies, which prevent abortions, and which is why I feel so weird, and we're having this stuff with mifepristone,
mifepristone.
whatever it is, the morning after pill. Look, I've my partners have used it before, so I'm it's a good contraception, and I don't see any issue with it. And I don't.
Mifepristone's a different.
Oh yeah.
pill. Mifepristone is actually one of a combination of drugs used for medical.
Oh, okay. So it's a
abortions.
different than like
So
your
it
normal Plan B.
happens. It's not Plan B. It happens early on in a pregnancy, but it's like
Mm.
rather than the morning after. It's like 2-3 weeks later, right? You're like, oh, let's get that taken care of, and it's used with another drug to help basically it clears out the uterus. Now
Mm.
it is also used, by the way, prescribed for early term miscarriages
Yeah.
for the very same reason. So it does complicate care. And this is where women, especially me, like, listen, I grew up Catholic. I understand the pro-life discussions. I myself am pro-life. Like in terms of
Morally,
that's not
you're
a
pro-life.
choice that I would make
Yeah.
for myself. I've been in the situations where I've offered to help support and adopt family members and friends who are in the
Mhm.
same situation. I however, have also had a miscarriage. And understanding that our healthcare system is terrible for having a miscarriage, you don't know what to do, and to care for that afterwards, and to know that that could be criminalized in and of itself. Because if you're tracking, so how am I going to prove that
Yep.
was a miscarriage versus
Mm.
something else? Did I do something to induce that
Yep.
pregnancy to fail?
Mm.
Am I going to be criminally responsible for that?
Mm.
And that's what is really frightening more broadly for women. So not to say that I would be in a circumstance where I would have an elective abortion,
Yeah.
right? But I could absolutely be in a position where I would need a DNC, where I may have a miscarriage, where
Yeah.
I could have a pregnancy that goes wrong and would need to have a procedure later in the pregnancy. These are things that could happen to me. And could I be criminalized for it? Could my mother, my other children lose their mother because there's a handful of people so committed to their own morality that they would rob me from my health care to do it?
But I don't. I would say no, because one, I'm pretty sure the law makes sure that there's those exceptions for mother's life. We'll see. I'll go check.
But the
we'll check for now.
providers don't want to do it is the problem, because providers can't prove that. That's the problem. Providers can't prove a miscarriage versus an abortion.
This is and this is where and we've had this discussion before. With how my party has a very real problem with writing laws too vaguely. And so this is definitely something that we need to make sure is codified so it's understood that these type of procedures are allowed and important, because these are about the mother's life is just as important as the child's life. If we're talking about the issue of pro-life, yes, anything that deals with the mother's life or the mother's health, anything like that should not be illegal, even if it is an abortion. Plain and simple, because it is the same value of life. But again, it's to me, and I'm not even going to beat the dead horse again. But you my position is pretty clear on this. It's definitely a tough position to have, especially with both how controversial it is. But I do stand by it, and it's how I feel. And but I'm glad we could actually have this discussion, because we don't.
Because it's tough. It's a tough one.
It's a tough one, and it's one that everyone's so passionate about, and it makes sense. I think there was a Louis C.K. joke about it, where he was like, if you're either you see it as murder or you see it as bodily control. It is like, if you see it as murder, then of course you're going to react this way because it's so horrible. And if you see it as taking control over your body, of course you're going to react this way. And so it's why I've never really liked the issue itself.
Yeah.
Because it's such a complicated issue. And to me, again, the real solution is addressing the socioeconomic causes, which would require Republicans to do things that aren't fiscally conservative, which they won't do, which is why, again, they blame these women and these mothers, because it's easier than actually trying to solve the problem in real life.
Right.
So
100%. Well, good. All right. Whew.
Yeah. I think
Another abortion debate done. So good.
Ooh.
Thank you for joining us, and thanks for folks showing up here. And actually, our comic, Chris Proya, just stepped in. So hi, and thanks to Cindy for joining us. She joins a lot of our live shows, but she's got a lot of good info, dialogue. Hopefully, you'll come and join us here.
And I'm sure next week I'm going to dye my hair blue, make it more adult for the lady who was up there in the chat saying,
I agree in body autonomy and that everybody should that you can look however you want. So I'm with you on however you want. Plus it's Sunday.
Yeah.
We're having a drink at the pub. Come have a drink with us.
Just so people understand how I get you, because I don't drive. I actually do not drive. I have to bike. It's about a 30-minute bike ride from where I live. So, and it was very windy today too. So that's why my hair is all messy. So
yeah, he makes it by bike here. But you can come by bike too. So we get here. Ollie's opens up at 4. I would love to have a drink, have a soda, grab one of the amazing sandwiches here at Ollie's Records and Pubs. Evie's like showing her sandwich over there.
Yep.
We're doing this every Sunday now, so we'd love to see you.
Definitely.
We record at 4:30. We are here a little bit afterwards, so you can come. You can be part of the audience. You can shout at us and raise your sandwich, whatever.
Cindy will be in touch. Saying she could come.
Oh, nice. There you go. So
see, making friends from the other side. I'm sure she'll be talking my ear off about how wrong I am after every episode.
Well, that's good.
No, but it's great. No, it's great. I love those type of conversations, and I again, this is why I asked to do this every week because I enjoy these discussions, having, really talking about the issues that we need to talk about and doing so in a way where we can both be principled on our stances, stick with our guns, but do so in a respectful manner, in a civil manner. And I look forward to our upcoming shows with Chris and Sheena Reagan. Going to be super fun. So be on the lookout for those.
Those will be good. Check everything out we have coming up at bigmouthmediafl.com. And because I have not gone and changed the subscription, for a limited time, you can still get the subscription. You can get the monthly subscription to DVR at $2.99 a month or $29.99 a year. Get that one a year, and you can help us here, help make sure we get good equipment. We can put on amazing shows for you, because the prices are going to go up because we're doing this weekly now. So
yeah, we're doing it weekly. So definitely subscribe while you still can lock down that lower price.
That's right. Who doesn't love a deal? Thanks for joining us here, and we will see you next time on a Democrat and
next
Republican
Sunday or
Walk
Wednesday
into
if
a
you're
bar.
listening to
That's
us
right.
on
Check out the edited one on Wednesday.
All right.
Bye.